Hello, Namaskar, welcome, Swagatam. You are with the Versatile Doctor. My name is Dr. Abhinav Atul, and today I welcome you to this very special live stream when we are celebrating International Women's Day. Now, the thing is, the topics that we will be discussing, topics that I will be talking about, are targeted for the teenagers and the young adults who identify themselves at Gen Z, and even more so for their parents. What we shall be discussing today is going to be open, educational, and maybe difficult for some people to digest. So, viewer discretion is advised. And at any point in our conversation, if you are uncomfortable, please feel free to leave and scroll to another video. The chat is open. Anything that you want to share or ask, please put it on the chat. We will certainly try our best to address each comment. The chat box is here on the screen too. Also, to make our conversation more authentic and objective, I have tried to take data from the National Family Health Survey in India, and the things that I will be talking about are taken from researched and published journal articles, books, or news articles. The references for them are given in the description box of this video. The data is taken for Indian people because really there is no relevance of quoting numbers and percentages from US or other developed countries here. In India, there is a shortage of research in any given matter, but whatever I could find, it shows a representative picture. With that said, let me introduce our special guest for today. We have Shagun Azad, a behavioral economist and an author. Her debut novel, Shut Up Shadi, this one, oh, wait, yeah, Shut Up Shadi, you can see. It was very recently launched, uh, and it is a fiction, and it shows how a woman, how an independent woman, how an educated independent woman tries to break the societal stereotype that a woman is incomplete, and unless she gets married in an acceptable window of time, the society doesn't accept them as women, as a part of the society. Now, see, society has moved a lot in the past few decades. Women are now being accepted to have working careers and even sometimes to choose their own match. But still, in most part of the country, if a woman isn't able to find a suitor for herself by, say, 25, 26 years of age, her parents will move heaven and earth to get her matrimonialized ASAP. But more on the societal issues later. Let me welcome Shagun to this special live stream. Hello, Shagun. It is great to have you here. Happy International Women's Day, and please tell us a bit about yourself.
Thank you very much for wishing me, sir, and welcome everyone. Wishing you all a very happy International Women's Day. Hi, all. I'm Shagun Azad. I am a behavioral economist, and I am the author of the debut novel Shut Up, Shadi, as sir has introduced. Well, I am someone who can does deep study in human behavior, whether it is in terms of decision making, social norms, or everyday interactions. So basically, my background, it's a mix of management, digital marketing, and now I am diving more deep into the personal psychology because I believe psychology is everywhere, isn't it? We are reading books of life skills and so many other kinds of books. And I want to thank Dr. Abhinav. Basically, how we met, I would like to tell everyone. Basically, met in the book fair, and we really dwelt a deep connection. His debut book, which is The Fourth Kiss and The Broken Boyfriend, which definitely is talking about the relationships and so much more, arranged marriage setup, and today's hot topic, which is there not only for the youngsters but for everyone, from the parents to the young adults to everyone. This topic is there. And about me, basically, I have done a lot of research. I'm a writer turned author now. And I will talk about this real issue that how a woman is incomplete until she doesn't get married is one of the topics. And definitely, whosoever has watched our YouTube live stream, that we're going to touch on different topics today, basically, and challenge it. We're going to talk about the society norms and the pressure that goes around women, and even men also become victim of it. It's not alone about women. So I hope we can have an open and thought provoking conversation together. Thank you.
Thank you, Shagun, for joining this unique and important discussion. And well, talking of which, let me begin with why is a discussion like this needed in today's day and age? You may have heard that today's youth is getting more and more averse to the idea of marriage. But statistically, this is not the case in India. Despite rising number of divorces in India, the rate of marriage has shown no decline. The perspective of the youth towards marriage and their expectations from a married life or a partner, well, that has certainly changed, but the fact remains that people are getting married despite some cases which gain viral popularity in social media depicting horrors of false allegations, insane alimonies, and overall a legal system which is extremely skewed towards women. People in India are still getting married in the traditional way, and that is arranged marriage. There was an article in Vice that suggested that this might be a result of our societal structure, which favors sanskar over everything else, over our own well being, over our own happiness. Also, if someone has had a long time relationship or even a live in relationship, if that did not culminate into a happily ever after, those people simply choose to concede to their parents' wishes for an arranged marriage rather than putting in the effort to get back out there in the dating market in hopes of getting lucky a second time, or maybe a third time, or maybe a fourth time. Because marriage is, for all intents and purposes in our society, inevitable. Because if not, log kya kahenge? It is like it is better to gamble on a marriage which has maybe 50-50% chance of working out well rather than 100% chance of constant taunting, bickering, and arguments with parents and relatives and everybody else, right? So, Shagun's book also addresses a part of this struggle in the life of an educated, so called independent young Indian woman. Now, Shagun, from the perspective of your protagonist in the book, Liana, in the context of what I have just said about the inevitability of marriage in our society, what would you say to our audience about being pro marriage or against marriage? Or are you going to take a stance in the middle?
All right. First of all, thank you for the lovely and beautiful uh, part that you have covered. Definitely, that we need to talk about, we need to speak about. And first of all, sir, I need to clear this to each and everyone that feminism is not a battle against men. Or this book, Shut Up Shadi, so many people in the book fair also, even in the Amazon time, even on the Instagram chats, is asking me that, okay, you are bashing the man against. No, not at all. Not at all. As you said, that there are so many cases of fake alimony and this marriage system which is coming in which women are getting married. So definitely there is and definitely a problem in the system, both for men and women, and we are here to talk about it, we are here to address it. So it's definitely a brilliant question. So I will address all of your questions. I'm going to answer it one by one. So first of all, the very important thing that my book Shut Up Shadi, as you asked me this question, so it's neither against marriage or it's neither for marriage. It's about choice, both for men and women, like any other important decision in your life. So a choice, not an obligation. That is what I want to clear to everyone. So let's talk about, the Gen Z's topic that we are talking about. They're stepping away from traditional marriage. Why is it happening? Because there is a generation gap, isn't it? Like, for example, the parents' thinking is different, and now the children thinking is different. So the Gen Zs are taking step back from the traditional marriage, which is seen as per the research. Even the National Family Health Survey basically is talking that though divorce rates are increasing, but still they are less than 1% as per the research. Nearly 80% marriages are still happening, and 80% marriages in India are arranged. So you're absolutely right. So this means that even though marriages fail, people are choosing to get married. So the real question comes why? And I'll answer this. Because in a country like India, especially we are talking about India, so marriage is not a personal decision. Here the families are involved. It is a society's expectation. Women are constantly reminded that they have an expiry date, especially the biological clock comes in. for the woman more than it comes biologically for a man. And talking to you as a doctor, this is proven that okay, you should plan a family or you should plan a baby before you turn 30, isn't it? That at a certain age, and after 30, your marriage market rate drops. So it's not about finding love on your own terms, rather, it is about surrendering or to avoid those questions that people are surrendering to the constitution of marriage, all because of the society pressure. As far as my specialization is concerned, I have done another research in which the psychologists basically call it as cognitive dissonance. This means that when what you truly want clashes with society, what society expects from you, isn't it? So the easiest way to stop this conflict is give in, get married, do what is expected, because you get so tired fighting that you say that okay, I surrender, I give in, I'll do as you say so. And as a behavioral economics, if I have to explain this concept in simple terms to people out there, it's loss aversion. So all the economic students can understand this what loss aversion is. I'll explain you in simple terms that people fear that losing of social approval. Like there is peer pressure, there is family pressure, there's emotional blackmailing. So they are valuing it, right? Gaining personal. They don't prefer. They prefer society expectation. They are preferring to fit in rather than their personal freedom. So that is a problem which is happening, isn't it? So which is why many people are settling down for an arranged marriage. So at least this way I wouldn't be an outcast is something which comes in the mind of the people. So at least I won't have to explain myself every day the same thing. They don't have the audacity basically to speak up and to stand up for themselves. They're going in the herd mentality that okay, fine, everyone is doing it. This is a certain way. This is how society is. We have to follow it. So this is what is happening. And as far as my protagonist, Liana, is considered, so Liana doesn't hate marriage. No, she does not. She hates that it is treated as a subject which is inevitable. She refuses to be defined by a deadline that society has basically set for her in the story, which is a fiction story. It's not personal. And that is a battle that so many women out there are fighting. Even the Gen Zs, young Gen Zs graduated are fighting this. A girl turns 25, she's fighting this. So I am, if you ask me, am I for marriage or against it? Neither I am for, no, I am pro choice basically. I am talking about the choice both for men and women. And also, another scientific fact that I would like to quote here is that counseling psychology, the subject that I'm basically talking about again and again, it proves that individuals who make self-determined decisions, let me clear it again, self-determined decisions coming from inside of you, as per the spirituality, as per the counseling psychology, this means it is free from guilt, free from fear, free from any kind of a pressure, experience greater happiness, satisfaction, and mental peace. So we can see that recently I have posted a video on how mental health of both men and women is getting affected, both men and women equally, because this is really creating a noise and chaos in the society. So absolutely, sir, I agree with you that it doesn't matter that whether you are 25 years old or whether you are 35 years old, it should be your decision. It should come from within, not from your families, not society. Certainly not because of you're scared of a judgment, isn't it? And that is the conversation that we need to keep on having. We need to keep on having. We say that yeah, we know it. Men are supporting. But are they really supporting in terms of the property decisions, in terms of the little things? Always man is given the upper hand. This is always and always the case. It's just a very small example. But I have seen so many working professionals also when I go out for my business meetings or consulting calls. There are so many people, they are like, especially ladies, okay, I'll just get back to you, or my husband will make the payment, or things like that. It, I mean, why is it so? So, definitely, when I am talking about the feminism, it is a hot topic. Women definitely are suffering. Women are definitely suffering. That is there. So, definitely, that this is an issue that we need to talk about, and especially men also. So we need to create that balance, both for men and women. That is very important, I feel. I need to talk about it more and more.
Yes, exactly. And it is a very good perspective because while talking about marriage, the The thing that creates the most friction in families is the lack of choice. You're marrying not for love, you're not marrying not for anything, any other reason, but you are marrying because your parents have decided it. Your society has decided that this is the date by which you should get married. And well, we already have a comment on YouTube. It is my brother, and his comment is, let's end marriage. So well, Anupam, please understand that we are not talking about ending marriage. We are not talking about pro choice, or I mean pro marriage or against marriage. We are talking about pro choice, as Shagun said. So let this sink in while we move ahead. Let us jump right into the main topic, and let me begin by addressing the elephant in the room, and that is sex. Now, we are a quarter of a way into the 21st century, and still we are unable to accept that sex exists. And it is something that should be a part of our education from an early age. So, while while the kids now have more access to more information with social media and internet, it is worth noting that teenagers are stepping into adulthood with incomplete and sometimes even inaccurate knowledge of what sex means, the body parts, the act, and also the gender identity and preferences. These are things that we leave for children to learn for themselves. Now, it is a documented fact that age of onset of puberty has been steadily declining all over the world, meaning girls are starting to have their periods as early as 8 or 9 years of age. And the age of marriage is, of course, rising because people are focusing on education and careers before thinking about settling down and marrying and everything. So these may be two factors which might have created a growing window of opportunity in which young people may engage in premarital romantic and sexual relationships. I was recently going through a book called The Complete Book of Sex Education. Let me put that up on the screen for you to see. So this book, it is a very well written, reliable source of information and guidance, but it also had me wondering why in an otherwise great book and informative book is the topic of virginity raised in a matter of taboo. I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all. So the thing is, having consensual sexual intercourse is and should always be the matter of conscious choice on the part of the participating adults. Shrouding this activity in the cloud of morality and prohibitive stigma around the concept of virginity has probably caused more harm than good. In the sense that the teenagers, the vulnerable and often ill informed teenagers, they tend to hide their actions and feel ashamed, regretful, and even traumatized by something which could have been talked about openly without any fear. And the outcome of this, well, unplanned teenage pregnancies, abortions without the supervision of a doctor, these are on the rise. And the physical and mental trauma which these things bring in is again not addressed adequately. So, let me ask Shagun her views on the matter of premarital sex. Shagun.
Yes, sir. So, first of all, let's talk about sex, which is the elephant in the room today. Okay. It's not just a moral debate, but it's a shameful secret, I must say. But as fundamental part of human beings, like you are eating food, you're exercising, drinking water, sex is a physical need. So we need to understand that and we need to talk about it without bringing any stigma or fear or shame associated with it. It's very important to throw light on this topic. So despite living in an era of where information is easily accessible, as you said, and especially for the Gen Z's, because there is so much stigma around sex. We say it's a modern society, but still everything is happening behind the closed doors. We do not have open conversation either in school or in our households. From where are these students, from where are these children basically who are graduating 18, 19 and stepping into the college? Who will educate them? We say sex education is there, but no, it's wrong, it's not happening, and I can give you a proof for that. For example, Gen Z's, when they are stepping into the adulthood, they are really confused, they are misinformed. They are unprepared for conversations around sex, relationship, and even emotional well-being that gets affected. This is not the case that they lack curiosity or intelligence. That is not what I'm questioning here. It's because the very people who should be guiding them, like for example the parents, the educators, and the society, are still uncomfortable to talk about this subject openly. So this is how, Abhinav sir, and I am here to talk about this subject. So from childhood, I'll explain it and break it down for everyone to make things easy, especially for the parents. It's very important for the parents to listen to this today. So from childhood, many are conditioned. The social conditioning is being done that they believe that sex is something to be hidden. Girls are taught that discussing about it is improper, and boys are expected to figure it out themselves. Like even in this book, the secrecy, it's provided. Kama Sutra is there, other kinds of books are there, but still, or pornography is there. But is this the right way to gather information? No, it's not. We need to understand that. So there's a lot of secrecy maintained around it. It only forces young people to seek answers from unreliable sources, as you mentioned, sir, such as pornography, social media, misinformed peers. It is not good. This is what psychologists basically call it: information avoidance. The tendency to ignore or suppress important knowledge because engaging in it can feel uncomfortable or socially unacceptable, because there is a taboo against mental health. Therapists or psychologists or behavioral economics or professionals like me, doctors like you, can come out and talk about it, but still, people are not ready to talk about it, discuss about it. So we need to talk about it. We need to discuss about it from within. It starts from home. So parents definitely should educate their children. Teachers should definitely educate and talk about it openly and more transparently. That's very important. So, by refusing to discuss sex openly, we push the teenagers into a space where they must navigate these questions without any proper guidance. That is what is the problem that is happening, right? So, there's a mismatch, I believe, between the biological development which is happening and the society's expectation. As you said, research, as per the research that we are talking about, shows that puberty is occurring earlier than ever, where girls now are experiencing their first period because of the hormonal urge that is happening in the bodies, because of the exposure which is happening. Girls are having their periods early, and even in case of men, the hormonal changes like the beard and other puberty changes are happening more early. Meanwhile, the average rate of the marriage, on the other hand, there is a delay. So that is, we need to understand that definitely sex being a biological need, people are going to go out and explore it. Suppressing it, not talking about it, or locking the children inside the houses is not a solution. We need to really talk about it, and it's important, it's really important to talk about it. So this creates a large open window when young people, they are going to go out, they are going to explore romantic and sexual relationship before marriage. So premarital sex is something which is happening and we are not talking about it. And of course, it creating a lot of problem. We are not talking about the safety, about the measures, so definitely, like for example, their self defense movement had come. Similarly, there should be a course on sex education, not only for Gen Zs, but for millennials, for everyone, to stop unplanned pregnancies, to stop the rate of abortions, and to make women more aware and to make men more aware. So there is a lot of science behind it. So this is basically, again, the problem of cognitive dissonance is again coming, but it is picturized in a different way. It's a psychological conflict, basically, between natural biological urge and society suppressing it. We need to understand that the biology and the society expectations, this is what is creating a huge problem. And this is where the all the anxiety, depression, and other problems are coming out. So this is just one part of the picture. There could be other reasons also, but we need to talk about this more openly and make a better place for everyone. So the consequence of silence are clear. When young people are not given proper education around sex, especially, they rely on misinformation, which further leads to risky behavior. It leads to unprotected sex, unplanned pregnancies, and even further effect on the mental health, like emotional distress. So psychologists basically refer to this concept as learned helplessness. Basically, this concept means that when individuals feel powerless in a situation due to lack of knowledge or control, they feel they don't have control over their choices. So instead of empowering them with the right tools, society needs to create a safe environment when they are making choices not on the basis of myths, guess, or fear, right? So one of the damaging aspects of sexual discourse in India is the stigma, honestly, around virginity. Again, I want to talk about it, which you opened up in your conversation, sir, that despite advances in gender equality, you claim that men and women are equal, but women still continue to face immense pressure. I've seen it in reality in so many cases during my research study, that women are facing immense pressure to remain pure until marriage, while men often are encouraged to be sexually experienced, because men is a provider, men has to be handsome, men has to be good looking, and even men has to figure out all the things on his own. So the double standard, you know, and this kind of social conditioning, we need to break, we need to talk about it, where beliefs and behaviors are shaped not by personal choices but by culture expectation imposed from childhood. So this is a lot of peer pressure where people are actually trying to fit in. Teenagers, especially, or the Gen Zs, they think, oh, having sex is like is being cool. We're experimenting with our bodies, so they are unaware what they are doing. They are basically doing it out of peer pressure. They don't, and later they regret that. Okay, by the time they realize, it's too late. That, for example, if you're a virgin, it's considered that, oh, you're still a virgin, seriously. And these kind of conversations do happen in the school groups, in the school chats, because I was doing one workshop and I was having an interview with a counseling psychologist who works in a school counselor. So she's also talking about these topics. She tried to conduct a workshop, but students are like, हमें तो सब कुछ पता है. So, we need to create that kind of awareness, among people. And about the virginity aspect, again, you need to understand that a woman's worth is not tied to any outdated concept. So it's biologically, as a doctor, even. So, what are your thoughts about hymen, if I may ask you? Can you just explain to the audience that the concept of hymen, that sometimes it's not naturally available? And for example, if I talk about myself, I'm a fitness enthusiast. I really work out, like from horse riding to yoga to stretching to weight training, what not I do. It's just an example. So, can you please explain the concept of virginity and hymen, and the concept which is still engraved in the minds of people, that if you bleed the first night, then only you are a virgin. So, there are many students who come to me, or many young girls who come to me and tell me that, okay, these are the issues which are coming up, different cases that I have seen. So, sir, can you just say two lines about these, please?
Of course, we'll discuss this, and I need to address whatever you have just spoken about premarital sex and the sex in general. So the thing is, we sometimes attribute the rising trends in live-in relationships and the premarital relationship that we talked about. These things we attribute to women empowerment and feminism, but it is not that simple. I mean, we tend to forget in the narrative of the celebration of this International Women Day, and while listening to a news story or in day-to-day life, that the talk of patriarchy, the talk of feminism, chauvinism, and everything, these things always have two aspects. Men are as involved in the whole process as women, and unfortunately, men are in many cases vulnerable too. And each case, each person's story is going to be different, and it needs an impartial lens to assess and judge correctly. Now, our legal system is designed to be pro women to a fault, but that is not the scope of our discussion today. While we are talking about the virginity thing, see, the stage our society's marital expectations and the youth's, young people's so-called frivolous behavior is, there is this term that is still going around a lot, the term called virginity, and it may be presented at as a part of virtue, or it may be exalted to the level of divinity, or what not only virtue, it may be exalted as your social standing, your honor, but that is not the case. I mean, I'm not even going to mention how many ways it is possible to have, to damage your hymen. I mean, sure, there is exercise, there is everything. I mean, there are number of ways in which a woman's hymen can be torn aside from having a sexual intercourse, but also The presence of hymen doesn't necessarily guarantee the so-called purity of a woman either. I mean, with the ridiculous system, ridiculous concept of virginity still somehow existing and thriving in our society today, there are things like vaginal rejuvenation or hymenoplasty or hymenography being available more and more in the market. Now, this so-called virginity is nothing, it's basically a myth. So the fact that people expect the men, the not only the men, not only the husbands, the family, entire family expects a woman to bleed at the time of their first intercourse, and that means at the time of their wedding night. Now, it is never going to be 100% thing, even with all the aspects of virginity, all the aspects of purity intact. A woman's hymen may not tear from the first intercourse, and even if it does, it may not bleed every in every case. So as I said, every case, every person's case is different, and you have to understand this. People are different, our bodies are different. Hymen is nothing but a plug of tissue which, when penetrated, it bleeds. I mean, just like a small cut, just like your ear piercing, it bleeds, and sometimes it doesn't bleed. Sometimes it is not as painful as it should be, as people expect it to be, and it is in no way related to a person's purity, their intentions, because a person can be sexually active and still maintain their virginity, so-called virginity, because there are a lot of ways. So let me push that question back to you. Please throw your some light on the concept of virginity as you see it, and what experiences you faced while you researched hymenography for your book, because in this book I read it, and you have mentioned the concept of hymenography, and for the just clarity from a medical perspective, hymenography and hymenoplasty are basically the same. It is a kind of surgery, a very small, minimally invasive surgery, where you repair your hymen by a few stitches or by staples or anything. So it is a very small procedure and very easily done. The problem is it shouldn't be required. There is no medical indication of doing a hymenoplasty or hymenography or anything. The hymen is not serving any purpose in your body. But anyway, over to Shagun. Please tell us what you experienced while you were researching about this process, this subject.
Yes, sir. Very well said, sir. Definitely, I 100% agree with you that such a treatment is not required at the first place. So, to explain it or to break it down for the audience, so from the beginning, girls are conditioned to believe that their purity is linked to an intact hymen, that their worth is somehow measured by whether or not they had had sex. But this idea has no biological or scientific basis that you have really proved right now, that you've really explained to the audience. So the hymen is simply a thin tissue, a thin membrane, and its presence or absence is not a reliable indicator of a virginity, that whether a woman is a virgin or not. A virgin is simply a person who has not experienced sex. Whether the presence or the absence of hymen, that's a second case. So there's so many videos out there, but we still need to bring more and more such videos to educate the people out there, which is really very important. And again, it can tear down due to non-sexual activities also, as I said, due to exercise or the use of other tampon or etc. But yes, this myth do exist. That's why we are talking about it today. And it is creating unnecessary anxiety, shame, and pressure on women, isn't it? So what's more even alarming, according to me, is how this outdated belief has given rise to a booming market for virginity restoration, which is basically the procedures like hypoplasticity or vaginal rejuvenation, you basically call it, have become increasingly popular, particularly in societies, where a woman's sexual history is seen as a measure of her character. The fact that such procedures even exist, according to me, is again the immense psychological burden placed on a woman to conform to an particular kind of a standard. That is what is happening in the society. So while researching, and to answer your main question, basically, while researching about this procedure for my book, I came across numerous story of women seriously eyed who were undergoing such kind of surgeries, not because they wanted to, but because they feared the judgment, the rejection, or even the violence. Some were preparing for arranged marriages, some were even preparing for love marriages, where the virginity was non-negotiable expectation. Others were engaged in consensual relationship, that is the premarital sex, and they were compelled to erase their past because of the society's pressure. So these were not medical choice. They were rather survival societies to survive in the society, some tactics which were being used, the culture norms basically that people cannot refuse and they have to accept it no matter what, because you need to understand, dear woman, that this is your body and it belongs to you, not to the judgment of any person out there. So the real issue is not that such procedures should exist or not. We are not questioning that here. But what we are trying to bring in the first place is that why is there no equivalent pressure on men, as though there's no proof for men? That is another question, isn't it? So why is only a woman's past sexual experiences anyone's business? So the answer lies in deep-seated gender bias also. The burden comes on women. In contrast, the society definitely demands purity from women, often encourages sexual experience in men, because men are told to be more bold and heavy chest and other kinds of things, which I have seen in my experience, in my study, in my research. I'm not trying to again talk about feminism and everything here, but a man who has multiple relationships, according to the research, he's seen as experienced, while a woman who does not is labeled as impure. So this double standards is basically that we need to talk about. So the conversation basically that we're talking around virginity needs to change. So instead of treating it as a baggage, moral baggage, or as a honor, that or something as a shame, we need to see it as a personal milestone, not as a measure of value. So woman's choice, it's a woman's choice. It doesn't depend on her past or present, and should never define her dignity. That is what I want to say to all. And at last, at the heart of it, true empowerment doesn't come from controlling anyone's body, and even for that matter, men also, but from giving them the freedom to make their own choices without fear, without guilt, without any kind of judgment. You need to understand that. So, until and unless society will not give us this permission, this obsession with virginity is still there in the society. No matter how modern society gets, these procedures, I am seeing these Instagram ads, so many bridal packages, cosmetology procedure, this procedure, that procedure. Why is there so much pressure? We need to break down it. I need to
That's
stop this trap that, especially that women are getting into. I need to stop this outdated narrative. It's very
exactly. I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. And this is not only outdated, this is actually counterproductive. Nothing good comes out of it. Uh, uh, anyway, moving forward, I mentioned unplanned pregnancies earlier. It is much larger issue than just the one rotating about around premarital sex. You will be surprised to know that very near to 50% of Azad, are you there? Shagun, are you there? I mean, your camera seems to have fallen down. Hello. So, let's hope she joins back very soon. What I was saying is that you will be surprised to know that very near to 50% of all pregnancies in India are unintended. Just let that sink in. Of course, there have been other studies which show that the prevalence of these unwanted pregnancies are decreasing, and that the people in lower socioeconomic demographics are more likely to have unplanned pregnancies. But the demographic differences aside, it is still a huge number with dire consequences, which begs the question, why? Why is it that the people, I mean, why is this statistic so bad? Is it that the people are not aware of contraception, or is it just that the people by default don't plan on having children. By Oh, okay, Shagun may need a few moments to join back. Uh, let's see. Anyway, uh, let's not leave the discussion hanging. So, what I was saying, so it's not like that people don't know about contraception, and it may be that by default people don't plan on having children, and pregnancy is an unintended outcome of sexual intercourse. It might be that. In my experience, even today, even though the TV commercials of freely available methods of contraception have been going around for decades, after marriage, a family planning is rarely under a woman's control. It is mostly the family's decision with direct or indirect pressure and under the direct control of the husband. Whether an unplanned pregnancy continues to term or it is aborted, its physical and emotional toll on the woman are profound. But unfortunately, these are often overlooked. All this circles back. Yeah, welcome, Shagun. I can't see you, but welcome back.
See me now?
Can't see you as of now. Waiting for you.
I'm sorry, I'll just. Yeah, now you can
Yeah,
see
yeah,
me,
yeah.
right,
Now
sir?
it's okay. Now it's okay. Yes.
I'm very sorry, everyone. There was a network
No,
glitch.
no problem. No problem. I was just talking about the unplanned pregnancies. So as I said, 50% of all pregnancies in India are unplanned. Anyway, so what I was saying, all this circles back, whatever we discussed and whatever we are talking about, circles back to the same old issue. Sex and everything surrounding it is a taboo. Now, something to never talk about. I mean, the parts of our bodies, how the reproductive organs work, or just the basics of how does one get pregnant and how can one avoid that. These things should be a part of very clear and early discussion in all households. There is a very useful website that I found, but before I share that, let me ask Shagun to share her views about the stigma surrounding sex.
So definitely, sir, about the stigma, as I've already told you, there is a lot of stigma around sex. Definitely, there is. So as we have covered, I hope you all are able to gather enough information, isn't it? So let us not sugarcoat sex, pregnancy, and reproductive system health topics. These are layers. So there's a lot of misinformation out there in the internet, and there is a lot of silence as well. So that is why we are here to talk about it clearly. Two professionals coming up together and talking about this. So silence can really, it's very bad because it can really give a toll on the physical health, emotional health, and mental well-being as well. On the other hand, I would also like to add to what you said, sir, that sex addiction that you call it is often seen as a male centric issue, but that is not the truth. Women also struggle with it in many times, which has been overlooked, according to me, or even misunderstood many times. Many women dealing with sex addiction may find themselves trapped in a cycle of emotional pain, using sex as a way to fill the inner void or to numb the past trauma. So, what's heartbreaking is that the emotional toll, basically, that all women are going through. So, a woman is rarely able to talk about it or to able to acknowledge about the same, isn't it? So, it can be painful both physically, mentally, emotionally. The truth is, women face their own unique struggles in this area, and pain often goes unseen. So this is an important topic that I feel many people have not highlighted. So that's why I would like to talk about it. On the other hand, about the unplanned pregnancy, sir, as if they are just as a result of impulsive decisions that have been taken. So definitely there is an impulse syndrome, basically in psychology, that we have seen, or lack of responsibility. But the truth is far more complicated. According to the research or studies have shown that nearly 40% of all the pregnancies which are happening in India are unintended, especially the household people who are coming in my house. She recently had an abortion. So I've seen it in as per the research as well, not only personal experience, as per research that low income women group have significantly higher risk of an unplanned pregnancy as per the research. Now, one might ask why. Why is that the case? Don't we have access to contraceptions? And there are government campaigns, television commercials out there, and social awareness programs also. Yes, these all do exist. I agree they do exist. But the awareness is not as same as you can call it an empowerment. Even today in many household, family planning, again, I have seen it's not a woman's decision. It is a family's decision. The pressure basically to conceive often comes from parents, in-laws, and society's expectations. When the final control, on the other hand, rests with the husband. So women are really in charge of deciding, even though they are financially independent, still they do not take their own choices because of the social conditioning, social taboo that is having. So having children is a mutual choice between the couple that we need to understand. And women, please wake up. It's a wake up call for you all, please. So sex is discussed in hushed tones, according to me. And contraceptive use is often dictated by culture and religious beliefs. And abortion, while considered legal in India, let me tell you, legal in India, is still treated as a shameful secret very sadly. So the entire issue basically now comes back to one fundamental problem, that sex is still a taboo. Why? So we avoid discussing, these things basically, that as if it doesn't exist. Why we not talking about it? We are leaving it for the young generation to figure things on their own, which can lead to devastating consequences that we have seen as per the research that we have quoted. Everyone can go ahead and read these research paper. So when was the last time your family or had sit down and talked to you? I want to ask about reproductive health. When was the last time? Anyone can answer in there. People can comment in the chat. Or about the contraception uses beyond the limited awkward mentions in school textbooks that you read it. Do you think it's enough? I really don't think so. Even the most basic knowledge of how pregnancy is happening is prevented in the household communications. And this lack of education is what is leading to unsafe sex, unplanned pregnancies, and women bearing the burn of decisions that they were not fully in control. So this stigma is so deeply ingrained, that women feel guilt and shame for seeking information about their own bodies. They don't understand their own bodies. So imagine this, many young women don't even know where to go for accurate information. There is so much shyness, there's so much guilt, they're so scared to go to the doctor. What will people say at any age? Even at 25, at 30, at 18-year-old or 15-year-old, there is still shame to talk about these topics or to go to a doctor. So we need to say that, as for example, you are scared of policemen. Similarly, you are scared of a doctor, or you're scared of a therapist, you're scared of a professional to go out and speak about these topics. So the fear of being judged is basically the fear that someone is going to judge me is something that we need to really bring that thing out of our head and speak about it and make an informed decision about the future. And when mistakes happen or unplanned pregnancies happen, it is the responsibility of both men and women together. So we can't put the blame only on women or only on men. So it's time for women, basically, as our International Women's Day, to put yourself first. And you need to understand that you are more than just a daughter, a sister, a wife, or a mother. You are your own person with your own needs, with your own mindset, with your own desire, with your own feelings. You deserve to first take care of yourself, understand your body, and make your well-being a priority. No one else is going to do it for you. Let me tell you, you have to raise your own voice. You need to fight for your own rights. That is very important. No one is going to come you and help you out. See, professionals are there to help you out, but you have to be the first person who has to come out there and take the step and come and visit, take the doctor's consultation, or go and take seek therapy. That is very important, both at a mental level and both at a physical level. It's very important. So take that time to heal yourself today and promise yourself that you're going to embrace and put yourself first today on this International Women's Day. Please put yourself, promise yourself. And at last, I would also like to say that sex education needs to stop being treated as an uncomfortable topic, for heaven's sake, please. It is not just about teaching young people how to prevent pregnancy, it is about understanding consent, respecting choices, and ensuring that no man or woman is left in the dark about their bodies. So, for those looking for more reliable information, I would also recommend there's another website that is life.com, www www.yourlife.com. That there's another website. I repeat, www.yourlife.com. So it provides accessible science packed details about the same. So this is all I would like to end, and sooner we accept that, better the society we will be. So thank you so much.
Exactly, and it is a quite moving piece that you have just said. The thing is, yes, women have to take matters in their own hands, and men have to stop thinking that they are the victim or they are just what the society asks them to be. Now, I would also urge each and every one of you, whether you are a young person or the parent of one, or just simply curious, check out the website lovematters.in. LOVEMATTERS.in. Here, you'll find credible information of all the matters of sex and relationships and pregnancies and contraceptions and everything in between in interesting articles and videos. Let this be a starting point of your journey towards clarity, towards awareness, and towards a happy and healthy life. And this brings us to the close of our conversation. But it doesn't need to be the end of this discussion. Please shout out in the comments regarding any doubts or any questions that you may have on any of the topics that we talked about today. You can reach out to me or connect with Shagun for her views and insight. We do have a few people joining on Instagram and YouTube, but uh, as of now, we don't have any questions. So I am hoping that people will start asking questions later. And in any case, I thank wholeheartedly to each and every one of you who has joined, who has taken their time out of their evening to join the discussion of this very important issue, the issue around sex, the issue around stigma, the issue which differentiates men and women, the issues that sometimes launch men and women as genders against each other, which actually should never happen. We are all part of the same society. We are doing our best to live a life on this planet and take things forward to progress. Everybody wants to live a happy life. Everybody wants to live a socially and economically progressive life. But why making why making something as basic as sexual intercourse or sexual education or contraception such a bad thing to talk about, such a thing that we must hide it? So, before we close, just I would just like to thank Shagun. Thank you, Shagun, so much for joining this discussion and bringing your thoughts and your perspective to the table. People who are watching us, you can find Shagun at Instagram. Her handle is on the screen at Azad Shagun 8. And yes, of course, I am available at the Versatile Doctor. Uh, do shout out your questions on the comments on Instagram or YouTube, wherever you like, or you can reach out to us on a personal level also. So, of course, let us spend this International Women's Day. Let us have this discussion on International Women's Day 2025 that sex doesn't need to be a stigma. Right, Shagun? What do you say?
Yes, definitely, definitely. And to everyone out there, sex is, I would say, the dance of intimacy where souls meet, bodies speak, and love is felt beyond the words. So definitely, sex is beyond pleasure. It is not a thing to you just, a machine, that you're not a machine to just to produce, reproduce kids. Enjoy it and feel liberated, feel happy. And one conversation I was having with the Dr. Abhinav was also around that, oh, if you're a spiritual person, that means you're asexual. That's really not the case. There's another workshop that I'll be conducted on sacred sexuality and spiritual sex to talk more in detail, both valid for men and women. So definitely sex is a beautiful thing to experience, but being informed and being aware, and that you are making with the right mindset, not being emotionally manipulated or with the peer pressure or with the judgment of society. So please don't do that. And
Exactly.
wishing you all women's a very happy Women's Day. Feel proud and enjoy. It's great to be a woman. That's a great privilege to be a woman. Definitely, I'm proud to be a woman myself today. I love myself, I say. So happy Women's Day once again to everyone, and thank you so much, Dr. Abhinav, for giving me this opportunity. It was great. So thank you so much, everyone. So I'll be signing off now. Thank you.
Thank you, Shagun. Thank you, everybody who joined in. And we will be back in another session sometime. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Have a nice weekend. And do remember to stay safe and healthy. Take care. Bye bye.